Oh, apparently everyone's getting fatter, including me. The whole country is beefing out. They had the kind of obesity Olympics. No, it wasn't. They should have actually. They had the stats came back on how fat we were. I think it was last week, and I think Queenslanders are winning. It's like the state of origin in fatness. They're heading up at over 65% of Queenslanders are obese or overweight. You know, and that's kind of, and I think we're about 62%. I thought we're not that far behind, but we're not leading. Although I do originally come from Queensland, so I'm probably in the state of origin of the fat state, so I'm probably in the 65%. And it gets you thinking, like, how do we get like this? How do we get to be such fat people? Like, 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, when I was a kid, I don't remember people being really fat. I mean, there was the odd person who was really overweight. And kids particularly weren't overweight because there just wasn't that much food. You didn't have that much food. Food was less, it was scarce, it was something you had small amounts of. Lunch when I was a kid is very different to the kind of lunches I pack now. Like lunch, when I was a kid, it was like you'd have a banana, you'd have a Vegemite sandwich, on a pension week, because Mum was on the widow's pension, you'd get 2 Arnott's biscuits from the assorted creams, and on the off week you'd get, you'd be lucky to get a milk arrowroot or a short, one of those, what are those, Scotch fingers. And she'd always put in like that really bad fruit cup cordial, but never very much it wasn't like health food, but it was made at a homeopathic thing. So there wasn't even cordial in there. It was just the kind of the vibration of the cordial in an empty plastic container. And that was all you had. And, that was the same lunch for my entire childhood. It never occurred to Mum that I might get bored. And it never occurred to me to even complain. I was just thought food was a bit shit. And food wasn't actually delicious. You just ate food because you were hungry. You were perpetually hungry. You lived in a state of eternal feeling of hunger because you couldn't just come home and just go to the fridge. I mean, the fridge was kind of no way because this was your mother's zone. You couldn't just go opening the fridge, you get in trouble. You had to have permission to look in the fridge. And then when you get to the fridge, all that would be in the fridge would be, it'd be so exciting to open it finally and all this like a big mound of mince in there. Sitting there red and bleeding on a plate, waiting to become rissoles that night or something like that, and a bit of jam and a bit of old gravy. And that's all that'd be in there. Not like this, like in my fridge, look at that. I haven't even been shopping. This is the fridge I have when I need to go shopping. Can you believe that? That is a lot of food. That is a shitload of food. And that's, let alone for the freezer, all that stuff in there. And that's when I go, I need to go shopping. And that's the thing, the whole concept of food. I mean, you didn't throw things out. You ate what you had to eat. I do remember a girl at school, her name was Julie Wesley, and I went to a Catholic school, and she once threw her lunchbox, like her actual food. She didn't want it, and she threw it in the bin, and the nun saw her, and she came and made Julie get it out and eat the lunch out of the bin, saying that, you can't do that because of the starving children in Africa. Julie and I are both about 6 years old, and we decided we'd be more than happy to send our lunch to the children in Africa, and that would solve a problem for Julie and me and the children in Africa. So it would have been a really good situation, but apparently they didn't want our Vegemite sandwich either, or the rotten banana. But it was kind of like, that was the kind of the attitude towards food. So it wasn't like this feeling like now parents freak out, oh my God, I think he's hungry, quick, cut something up, quick. No, you just ate food at allocated times, small amounts of food that didn't really taste that good. And if you didn't like it, you had to eat it because you wouldn't be anything else. Like your mother wasn't going to make you a replacement meal. Like, oh my God, you don't like it. It's like too bloody bad. If you don't eat it, tough. And I think that was the kind of attitude where food was, smaller. And when you kept food in the cupboard, like my mum's kitchen, there was one shelf with food on it. One shelf, right? Here, this is look at where I keep all my food. That is, plus the fridge, all the food's in there. And I haven't been shopping. Like my son came home the other day, and he opens he says, because usually I put a lot of effort into the lunch because you're really aware. Like I put things like, I'll put little bits of carrots, and I'll cut up a bit of, kind of celery, a little bit of peanut butter, maybe some almonds, maybe some yogurt, maybe a muesli bar, maybe some dinner from the night before to reheat. And he came home one day and he said, Mum, food was a bit shit, lunch was shit today. See, reject. And I went, oh, sorry. And you do get that maternal guilt. But then you went, shit, that lunch that you had was still 5 times better than any of the lunches that I ever had as a kid. A hell of a lot better. You're lucky, in fact. And they'll still come home. All my kids come home and they go like this. They go, oh my God, there's like nothing to eat. There's nothing here to eat. And they'll stand here saying that like they're waiting, you know, for something to, like a drive-through or something, for someone to hand them something out of the hand to come out. Because I suppose it's that sort of fast food economy. We live in with expectation. I mean, there's hummus, there's eggs, there's yogurt, there's grapes, there's chili sauce, there's coconut water, wasabi, there's antibiotics, there's a little bit of almond milk, there's, kiwi fruit, I think there's a placenta in there somewhere from my last birth, there's ice cream, there's heaps of puff pastry, breadcrumbs, they can, pasta, noodles, muesli, capers, they can wipe pizza bases, nachos kits, burrito kits, they can wipe themselves out. No, nothing to eat. It's funny because when I was growing up, I'd never heard of McDonald's. There was no such thing as takeaway. The only time you ever had takeaway was, as a Catholic kid, was in Lent, because you're not allowed to eat meat in Lent. You could only eat fish. And so for 4 weeks, for 4 Fridays, you got fish and chips. It was the most exciting thing. And it made me really love Jesus, because not only had he died for our sins, he died so we could have fish and chips for 4 Fridays a year. But that was kind of okay. I'm going to put this back for tomorrow, hey? Give them a little start. Show them something that they don't know about how to live hungry, hey? That might be the answer to the obesity. I'll put it in here. I'll keep the boxes cold. Oh, I'm going to have to throw some food out to get this in. Don't get me started on throwing food out. Most of this will have to go. No wonder we're fat. Where's the biscuits?